It's another edition of Time About the Movies. We wrap up the week by wrapping up the month of June 1991. We are at June 28th, 1991. And we got three movies to look at today, but let's start with the biggest new release of the weekend. It's a movie that is a sequel to a movie that came out a long time ago. You got a lot of the same people back for this one. You have a lot of high expectations from it. I mean, what more can you say about this movie that hasn't already been said? Let's just jump right on into it. Let's start with our first movie, and that is Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
He said he'd be back.
Trust me.
The Naked Gun 2.5. The Smell of Fear. Rated PG-13.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Now playing.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's not 4th of July weekend yet. Yeah, Terminator 2 doesn't come out until the next week. Actually, I did that intentionally because, as you can tell, Naked Gun 2.5 did do a parody of the Terminator 2 trailer, so that's why I put that in there. But let's talk about the biggest new release this weekend, for real this time, and that is, of course, the Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear.
Washington, D.C., where violence explodes every day. But America's toughest cop is pounding a new beat.
Lieutenant Drebin.
The police squad is back.
Is this some kind of bus?
Very impressive, yes.
They're ready for action.
How you doing, Trooper?
Ready for love.
I'm lonely, I'm lost, I need someone to hold, to love.
Frank, over here.
And ready for seconds. In the movie that proves you can lead a cop to water, but you can't make him think.
The water's over there, Frank.
Starring Leslie Nielsen.
I don't recall seeing your name on the guest list. Nothing to be embarrassed about. I sometimes go by my maiden name.
If it's not dangerous, he's not interested. Priscilla Presley as the irrepressible Jane. Robert Goulet as Quentin Habsburg.
The truth hurts, doesn't it, Habsburg? Oh, sure. Maybe not as much as jumping on a bicycle with a seat missing, but it hurts.
George Kennedy as Captain Ed Hocken.
Congratulations. I understand that Edna's pregnant again.
Yes, and if I catch the guy who did it. And O.J. Simpson as Nordberg. If you only see one movie this year, you ought to get out more often. The Naked Gun 2.5. The Smell of Fear.
Give me the strongest thing you got.
This is a sequel so big, they had to add another half.
This is, of course, a sequel to The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad, which was a big hit back in Christmas of '88. And this one did a little bit better than the first movie did. It was a slightly bigger success than the first movie was. Helped a lot thanks to frequent VHS play between the time of this new movie and the original film. And CBS at the time actually aired the entire Police Squad TV series, all 6 episodes of the ABC show. They actually aired them in time in preparation for this movie coming out. And so there was a little bit of a build-up here to this movie, and while I won't say that this is better than the first movie, it's still a really funny movie. Naked Gun 2.5 really is still a very funny movie, and in a way, there are parts of it where I would say it is a little bit better than the first movie is, mostly in how they do some of the comedic bits in here, some of the references they make in here. This one in particular has more of an emphasis on throwing in some callbacks and some jokes straight from the Police Squad TV series. There are lines that are taken straight from the Police Squad TV series and put into this. There are callbacks, there are homages to the original series in this particular movie. That the first movie was just, most of it was basically on its own for the most part, but there you could definitely notice a lot more of the callbacks to some of the moments in Police Squad, like the bit at the end in the climax of the movie where Frank Drebin and the bad guys are shooting each other, and you think it's going to be like a distance. One's shooting from a distance, the other's also shooting from a distance, but they're literally right next to each other, shooting each other behind the walls and all that. There are a lot of those jokes in this movie, and they are very funny. This is still a very funny movie. I mean, right from the get-go, you're laughing pretty quickly at some of the funny stuff that they do here. And like I said, it really doesn't. It doesn't have those same good hard laughs that the first movie did, but the movie still packs a ton of good laughs in here. This is a very funny movie. Leslie Nielsen just shows why he and David Zucker and the Zucker brothers work with each other so well. Like, whenever you put Leslie Nielsen in a movie that's not done by these same people, a spoof comedy, more than usual, it doesn't usually pan out all that well. Of course, you got Priscilla Presley back for this. George Kennedy's back in this as Captain Ed Hawken. You got O.J. Simpson back as Nordberg, who has a bigger role here, but at the same time, he does get beat. He still gets beat up a lot in this movie. Maybe not quite. Okay, maybe not quite as much as the first movie, but it is still very funny, and especially since, you know, in the 30 years since this movie's come out, and you've seen what has happened to O.J. Simpson, you can't help but think that he does kind of deserve it a little bit. And there are still a lot of funny moments involving his character in this movie. Robert Goulet plays a great villain in this movie, and you also have Richard Griffiths playing the Dr. Albert S. Meinheimer in here. He actually has a couple of very good moments in here as well, some good funny moments. And like I said, it's a really funny movie. It's still very funny. It's still very silly, but the good kind of silly. It's a good fun time when you had a bad day and you just want to watch something hilarious. These movies just put a big smile on my face. I love these movies so much. Like I said, it's not as good as the first movie, but I can't help it, man. The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear is absolutely brilliant. Funny movie. I don't think I need to say it anymore, but you gotta check it out if you haven't seen it already. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Europa Europa.
This is the true story of Solomon Perel. On the eve of war in 1938, his father orders him to survive at any cost. Separated from his home and family, he embarks on an odyssey, the likes of which has never been seen on the screen before. Europa Europa.
So the story of Europa Europa, as you can tell, this is a story about a German Jewish boy who escapes the Holocaust by masquerading as a Nazi German and joining the Hitler Youth. And the movie is basically him just trying to survive without getting caught, or basically just trying to survive during the craziness of World War II in the late 30s. And, yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a really good, well-made film. The acting is very good here. There is some action in here, but not a whole lot. But the acting overall is very good. The lead boy, Marco Hofschneider, I think is... Yeah, Marco Hofschneider. He's pretty good here. You also have Julie Delpy in one of her early roles. And, the movie does a good job of building suspense, but also being kind of a little bit of a black comedy in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's a very good movie. It's a movie that I honestly was pleasantly surprised by. I saw little bits and pieces of it when I was when I was watching the old Siskel and Ebert shows back from when I was watching on YouTube about maybe 15 years ago when they put them online, and I saw this movie on here, and I thought, this might make for a decent movie to watch someday, and I watched it a couple months ago, and yeah, it definitely does deliver a lot of what I was expecting from it. So it is a pretty good movie. I definitely say check it out if you want to see something a little bit different. This movie will definitely fill your intentions for it. Fill your taste buds, I should say. So yeah, that is Europa Europa. Now let me go ahead and see the last movie that we have here, because I immediately forgot the title of it, and that is The Reflecting Skin.
It's all so horrible, isn't it? The nightmare of childhood. And it only gets worse.
This movie is basically known as the Exploding Frog movie because it literally opens up with these kids making a frog explode, and it was so intense when this movie came out in 1990 that screenings had to be scheduled in order to cater to demand. because of the word of mouth on this film, and some people thought it was insane. They thought it had some abnormal situations and some really morbid characters. But at the time, it did get some decent reviews, but it has grown a little bit of a cult following over the years, and I mean, that's really all I could say about it. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment too much on it. But Roger Ebert basically put it in this way. It reminded him very much of David Lynch's Blue Velvet and some of his works as well, but a little bit better. I mean, that's what he said. But I could definitely see the David Lynch parallels here, especially when you consider the fact that it starts with an exploding frog for no reason. It's just like, it looks like a really weird movie, to say the least. So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's how the best way to look at it. I can't really comment on the film itself because I haven't seen it before, but I'll give it this, though. It does look visually stunning for the time. It looks like it does still hold up over 30 years later, so who knows? Maybe it might actually be worth it one day. I'm not going to rush out to see it, but if I see it somewhere, or if it's on streaming somewhere, I might take a look at it, but that's really all I've got to say about The Reflecting Skin, quite honestly. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We will jump into Terminator 2 for real next time around as we get to 4th of July weekend 1991. We also have another sequel in Problem Child 2, and we also have Richard Linklater's first big breakout film, Slacker, as well as The Miracle. So we'll look at all 4 of those movies next time we meet, and that'll be on Sunday. Of course, tomorrow we have a new Movie Stop episode. I'm going to go check out DC's League of Super Pets and then have a review for you at the end of the video, so definitely be on the lookout for that tomorrow. But, thank you guys for watching, and as always, if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys next time for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.